Welcome to this week's episode of Your Stock Request for the 2nd of August. Hi, I'm Michael Gable, Managing Director of Fairmont Equities. This is a weekly video where I take your requests and analyse the chart for you. So make sure you send me your request for next week. This week we're looking at Star Pharma, IOOF, SSG, Aurora and PGC Paragon. Just bear in mind any advice here is general only. So weekly chart of Star Pharma had this fantastic move up at the end of last year, but then it's been dominated by this reversal. So this is a classic evening star formation. So we're looking at weekly candlesticks here. So we've had a big run up, a week of indecision, and then a big sell-off. And then with the weeks after that, we can see that the shares struggled to get back up to this level. So all of this was clearly a negative sign, and I think we put a chart out in our report earlier in the year just highlighting the negative nature of this. But look, it's fallen away and it has tried to bounce back a couple of times. A positive note is that the recent bounce up has been on pretty good volume, as we can see down here. So that's a positive. But to my eye, there does seem to be some obvious resistance around this level. So I'd prefer to see it crack this level first. Otherwise, we may well see it congest further. IOOF, sticking with our weekly chart, I'll just zoom out a bit more. Hasn't had a good start to the year. It's come back to a region that seems to, there seems to have been a bit of a trading range for the last few years around these sort of $8 to $9 levels. So that's basically back to where it is now. So there may be some support, but it's a bit unclear as to what it's going to do. If I have a look, if we just zoom in a bit, recent price action, maybe this is a rising flag, which is not a good sign in that the shares have fallen, they're struggling to head higher, and if it breaks this flag, it could break back down towards that $8 level. So look, it's too early to say that it's a negative here, but it's just more of a hold and not showing enough price action that would want me to go and buy it. Okay, SSG, not too much to add for this one. I mean, is that it's sort of tracking sideways. I mean, if we move to the daily chart, it's just a little bit all over the place, sort of a lack of volume and liquidity. But back to the weekly chart, we could see that it seems to be forming this base. And it looks like this sort of level here, which is around 53 cents, I guess that would be the key level. So it needs to sort of break beyond that, and then it would start to look encouraging. But for the moment, I guess it's just going to trade within this large range here. Okay, the next one's Aurora, which is a stock that we've liked for a while. I'll just zoom out on the weekly chart. So we can see that since getting spun off from Amcor about 4 years ago, it's been trending up. Occasionally it has these consolidations, which is great. It's nice and healthy. So it consolidated here, moved up, consolidated, moved up, another sort of consolidation, and now it's on the move up again. So the trend is nice, the volume's still healthy, and look, there's not really any signs that are telling me that that it's going to reverse here. So still very much a hold, and I'd still be happy to buy this one on any dips. And finally, Paragon Care. What's interesting is that, so there was this low here in 2017, it rallied, bounced sharply off it, which is a positive sign. The only thing is, instead of sort of consolidating here, maybe in a bit more of a sideways fashion under this high, it's just coming off a bit sharply. So that would just have me a little bit worried that the sell-off's been a bit savage and it hasn't recovered. The only other thing to look out for is, at first glance, we may well be seeing a big head and shoulders pattern. I mean, it's well too early to say that that's going to happen, but what I've noticed is a lower peak, a higher peak, and another lower peak. So in other words, we've got a neckline here. So in other words, if the share price comes all the way back down here, then it looks like we've got a head and shoulders. But only if it breaks this do we get concerned. I know that's a fair distance away. We're looking at sort of around 68 cents. But just something to bear in mind, if you're holding it all the way down here and then you see it break, I'd be jumping out. Okay, well that's it for this week. Remember, share this video on social media. The more requests that come through to me, the more chance I have to filter out the better ones. And if you do have a request, email it through and I'll try to cover it next week.